November 2022, OpenAI launched ChatGPT, and within 2 months, it had over 100 million users and became the fastest growing product in human history, and Sam Altman became the face of the AI revolution. Today, 800 million people use it every single week, and the company, as of last quarter, is valued at $852 billion. And the entire world assumed that OpenAI was winning. But last year, a leaked financial document revealed that in 2025, OpenAI lost $21 billion. So how does the most used AI product in history silently end up falling apart? To understand how we got here, you need to understand what OpenAI actually built and why they built it. In 2015, a small group of researchers founded OpenAI because they believed that if a single corporation controlled artificial intelligence, the consequences for humanity could be catastrophic. So they built it as a non-profit with one single goal: to develop AI safely for the benefit of all humanity. And Sam Altman and Elon Musk were among the co-founders. Sam Altman called it potentially the most impactful technology in human history, built not just for shareholders, but for everyone. And 7 years later, they launched ChatGPT. You see, it took TikTok over 9 months to reach 100 million users. Instagram did it in 2.5 years, and Facebook took 4 years. ChatGPT did it in under 2 months. And before ChatGPT, you had to phrase things exactly right, use the right search terms, keywords, and the inputs were too rigid. ChatGPT understood context, it understood nuance, it felt less like a search engine and more like talking to a person. And for the first time, AI felt like something anyone could use. Microsoft saw what was happening and wrote a $13 billion check. And investors poured in from every single direction, and total fundraising crossed $180 billion. The company went from a small non-profit research lab to an $852 billion valuation company in less than a decade. I mean, they ended up more valuable than ExxonMobil. And Sam Altman was on every magazine cover promising to cure cancer, replace doctors, and automate the entire economy. I mean, the story simply felt unstoppable. But underneath the headlines, something was quietly going wrong. Something structural, something that no amount of fundraising could fix. Every major AI company in the world except OpenAI have something what economists call a safety net, a separate, highly profitable business that funds their AI spending so that they never have to make money directly from AI itself. Google made $54 billion from search and $9.8 billion from YouTube in a single quarter last year. And Gemini is actively losing them money, but it doesn't matter because search and YouTube are simply printing cash. Meta made $56 billion in revenue in just 1 quarter, and 98% of it came from Instagram and Facebook ads. And they can afford to give their AI models away for free and build the most expensive infrastructure in the world because Instagram is subsidizing every single dollar of it. Similarly, Microsoft has Office, Amazon has AWS. I mean, you get the gist. Every major competitor has a golden goose paying for the race, and OpenAI has none of this. They are the only major AI company on earth that has to make money directly from AI just to survive. And even their closest competitor, Anthropic, has a clearer path. You see, Anthropic picked one lane, focusing entirely on enterprise customers and coding tools that businesses reliably pay for. Their revenue grew tenfold in roughly 15 months, and they're projected to reach profitability by 2028. OpenAI is trying to be everything to everyone: a consumer app, an enterprise platform, a research lab racing towards AGI, all at the same time. And when you look at what that actually cost them, the numbers are unlike anything you've seen in the tech industry like ever. Remember that leaked financial document I mentioned at the start of the video? It revealed more than just a $21 billion loss. In 2025, OpenAI made $13 billion but ended up spending $34 billion. But here's what makes the numbers even more surprising. OpenAI's single biggest cost in 2025 wasn't salaries or research, it was Microsoft. OpenAI paid Microsoft $17.2 billion for cloud infrastructure and compute. And in return, Microsoft sells access to OpenAI models through Azure and pays OpenAI a share of those sales. That share in 2025 was just $303 million, less than 2% of what they paid them. And OpenAI is losing nearly $60 million every single day. And the people paying for it are a surprisingly small group. ChatGPT has 800 million weekly users, but only 5% of them actually pay. That's roughly 40 to 50 million people carrying the financial weight of the product used by 800 million people. And to break even at current cost, OpenAI would need somewhere between 150 to 200 million paying users. That's quadrupling their paying base, while Google, Meta, and Anthropic are all offering free alternatives which are relatively good. And Deutsche Bank were very blunt about this. They said that no startup in history has ever operated with losses anywhere approaching this scale, and they believe that OpenAI needs to burn another $143 billion to approach profitability. To put that into some perspective, Uber lost $31.5 billion before finally turning profit, and OpenAI is projected to lose 4 times that amount. And HSBC analysts warned that they could run out of money by mid-2027. But their financial losses are only part of the problem, because in their desperation to stay ahead, they did something that sent shockwaves through the entire consumer electronics industry. You see, in October 2025, the OpenAI team flew to Seoul, South Korea, and signed deals with Samsung and SK Hynix, 2 of the largest memory chip manufacturers on Earth. The goal was to secure RAM supply for their Stargate AI data center project, and what they secured was approximately 40% of global DRAM production capacity. To put that into some perspective, global memory production runs at roughly 2.2 million wafers per month. These are the silicon disks that get cut into memory chips inside every device you own. And OpenAI locked 900,000 of them. Memory that hadn't even been manufactured was already claimed. And by end of this year, AI data centers are projected to consume 70% of all memory chip production globally. That leaves just 30% for everything else. Laptops, phones, tablets, gaming console, all competing for what's left. And prices move almost overnight. DDR5, the RAM inside most modern laptops and desktops, jumped anywhere from 170 to 280% in price. A 64GB DDR5 kit that cost around $197 now costs about $700. SSDs, the storage drives inside most modern computers, cost around $170 before and now cost about $650. Sony, Dell, Asus all started warning consumers about higher prices and delayed product launches. And it wasn't just RAM. Nvidia paused production of their latest gaming GPUs to prioritize AI chips instead. The ripple effects were hitting every single corner of consumer electronics. It got so serious that groups representing the tech and automotive industry wrote directly to the US Commerce and Treasury Department urging them to intervene. Your next laptop and your next phone will cost more because of this. And I mean, the irony is hard to ignore. The company, founded in 2015 with the mission to benefit all of humanity, is making everyday technology more expensive for everyone. But the RAM crisis is just the visible consequence of something much deeper. Because while all of this was happening, the company was quietly becoming something its founders never intended it to be. Remember that founding mission I mentioned earlier, where they promised to develop AI for the benefit of all of humanity? Here's what actually ended up happening. In January 2024, OpenAI quietly updated their usage policy. The clause that explicitly banned military and warfare applications was removed. No press release, no announcement, no explanation, just gone, and replaced with softer language about not harming people. And then in June 2025, they signed a $200 million contract with the US Department of Defense to develop warfighting capabilities. They also partnered with Anduril, a defense contractor that builds autonomous weapon systems. And the people who built OpenAI got sick of it and were starting to leave. Jan Leike, who led OpenAI's safety team, resigned and said publicly that safety had taken a backseat to shiny products. And Daniel Kokotailo, a researcher in OpenAI's governance division, resigned and deliberately forfeited $1.7 million invested equity just so he could speak freely about his concerns without signing the company's departure agreement. The departure agreement was the next thing people found out about. You see, departing employees were being asked to sign lifetime non-disparagement clauses, not just standard NDAs, lifetime clauses preventing them from ever criticizing OpenAI. Even acknowledging that the NDA existed was a violation. And if you refused to sign, you lost the right to sell the equity you had already earned. I mean, millions of dollars just gone. And Sam Altman later said that he was genuinely embarrassed and that he did not know that this was happening. I mean, come on, dude. In October 2025, OpenAI completed the conversion from non-profit to for-profit. Elon Musk had already filed a $134 billion lawsuit alleging that the company had betrayed from its founding agreement. A federal jury dismissed the case on statute of limitations grounds. But the lawsuit tells the story of how far the company had drifted from what it was supposed to be. And while all of this was happening, the product itself was quietly struggling too, because every attempt to fix the financial problem was making everything worse. In September 2025, OpenAI launched Sora, the video generation app. It was their biggest consumer product bet outside of ChatGPT. Disney signed a billion-dollar partnership granting OpenAI access to Marvel, Pixar, and Star Wars characters. But Sora costs roughly $1 million a day to run, and users only spend an average of 15 minutes on it per day. The revenue it generated didn't come close to remotely covering the cost. And just for context, TikTok users spend 90 minutes per day on the platform. The numbers never worked. And in March this year, OpenAI shut it down without any notice or warning. And even Disney found out a partnership they'd been told was the future was over with the 30 minutes notice. And then there was the hardware play. OpenAI acquired the company of Johnny Ive for $6.4 billion. Johnny Ive is a designer behind the iPhone, the iPod, and the MacBook. The goal was an AI device projected to sell 50 million units in its first year. But OpenAI was entering a product category that had already destroyed two other companies. The Humane's AI pin launched to massive hype and failed within months, and the Rabbit R1 did the exact same thing. OpenAI paid $6.4 billion to enter a category with a 100% failure rate, and then came GPT-5. Sam Altman had promised it would make GPT-4 feel mildly embarrassing, but users found it to be more cautious, more corporate, and in some cases worse at basic tasks than the model was supposed to replace. And they restored GPT-4o within 24 hours because users preferred the older version. And then came the silent model switching. You see, users paying for GPT-5 were being quietly served cheaper models mid-conversation without being told. Responses would shift mid-thread, personality changed, requests that had been handled were suddenly refused. The trust problems kept compounding. In January this year, ChatGPT introduced ads, and 18 months after Altman publicly called ads his last resort, and free-tier users started seeing sponsored content after roughly a third of their responses. And through all of this, Altman kept doing the one thing that had always worked: raising money. In February this year, OpenAI raised $110 billion in a single funding round, the largest private fundraise in history, more than any company has ever raised going public. I mean, not because the company was thriving, but because a company losing $60 million a day has no other choice. But what actually happens if the money does run out? The companies depending on OpenAI to pay their bills are enormous. Oracle has $300 billion of revenue tied to OpenAI, and Microsoft has $281 billion in performance obligations connected to this partnership, and Amazon has $138 billion committed. If OpenAI stops paying its bills, these companies take enormous hits. But it goes deeper than that. Private credit funds like Blackstone, Blue Owl, and Apollo, backed by teachers' pensions and retirement accounts, have invested billions into AI data centers, betting that the OpenAI bet would work. If OpenAI doesn't work, it doesn't just hurt tech stocks, it could hit the retirement savings of people who have never thought about AI once in their lives. So what are OpenAI's options right now? They filed a confidential IPO registration in May this year, targeting a $1 trillion valuation. Going public is currently their best shot at raising enough money to survive. But the moment they go public, for the first time, every financial detail becomes public record. So when the numbers go public, the market will decide whether the story holds up. Do you think ChatGPT survives the next 5 years, or does someone buy them out before the decade is over? Drop it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.